The Blue Jays are more than a quarter of the way through the 2022 season. Is an AL East title more fantasy than reality? Time to find your seats and enjoy the views from the On Fek Circle, streaming to Blue Jay fans everywhere every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on the Jays from the Couch YouTube channel. You can laugh a little while thinking a lot about baseball from a Blue Jays point of view. This program is joined on our YouTube channel by Sunny Side of the Dome, hosted by Jays from the Couch writer and analyst Karen Suter, and she is live Thursdays, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Karen is the voice of the diehard Blue Jays fan, and she brings Jays news and notes to life in a very personal way. The Jays from the Couch radio podcast, our mothership, streams live Mondays, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on our YouTube channel, the Jays from the Couch Facebook page, and on Twitter at Jays from Couch. Senior editor and Jays from the Couch founder Shaun Doyle creates and moderates Blue Jays Talk for All with Blue Jays players, beat writers, out-of-town analysts, and fellow Couchers like Karen and I. Never miss our fake Blue Jays news segments. You can download all 297 episodes anywhere you find finer podcasts, and all of these fine programs stream free and are brought to you by jaysfromthecouch.com. Welcome to the On Fek Circle. For those of you that thought maybe you were done with me, sorry. COVID can take my voice, but it cannot shut me up. Welcome back, Steve. Thank you, Christian. Christian of the Row Report, the number one team in the Jays from the Couch Fantasy Baseball League. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in just a bit. I want to throw out a couple of ceremonial first pitches. This is my special concoction in my special Jays from the Couch radio coffee mug that really did restore my voice. I had no voice for a long time. It was kind of iffy. That's why I skipped the podcast last night. Spies and special ops people should have this concoction in little capsules so they can swallow it and in case they get captured to end it all. But no step is too far for the Fekless Wonder to bring you views from the On Fek Circle. I'm going to throw out a couple of ceremonial first pitches, then we'll start talking a little bit about the main topic of the day. I do want to thank all of you, and again, thank you, Christian and Shaun and Karen. Everybody on the couch has been very supportive. I've got a lot of, tweets and private messages, both by email and on social media, checking on me when I revealed I had tested positive for COVID. It kicked my butt. I mean, I'd had it previously. I had the first go around, but I guess when you're a broken down old goat like me, it eventually wears you down. But I do appreciate everybody following up, reaching out, giving well wishes, supports, even some tips about how maybe to feel a little bit better. Yeah. Blue Jays fans as a community, they're pretty close knit. So even when you have a dope like me that seems to upset people from time to time with some of my viewpoints and whatever it is, you would think that you that would drive some people away, but you folks were terrific, and I do appreciate it. Also, a lot of the other podcasts that are out there that cover other teams other than just the Blue Jays, I got a lot of very positive messages from them as well. So I wanted to thank you all for that. Hopefully you caught the podcast last night, not only to celebrate the fact that I wasn't on it, but also it was a very special podcast. Sherry and Alex from ALS Double Play were Shaun and Karen's guests. They talked about their very special initiative that sponsors postdoctoral researchers to work towards a cure, or at least towards, ways to make quality of life a little bit better for people that are stricken with ALS. ALS is basically a death sentence. It might not come right away, but it's a tough disease. I mean, okay, COVID's tough. It's no way that I could ever describe to you what ALS is like, having had loved ones and family members that have passed from it. It's a tough go. If you did not catch the live stream last night, again, as I mentioned earlier, you can download the Jason the Couch podcast pretty much anywhere. You get Stitcher and Spotify and Apple and Google. I mean, basically, if it's a legit podcast outlet, you will be able to download and listen at your convenience. It's a terrific episode. You'll learn a little bit something. Uh, there were Blue Jays connections, both from a fan standpoint and just from the general camaraderie. Certainly, the person that was stricken with ALS was a big fan, big sports fan, big Blue Jays fan, and it motivated his sister and her friend to get this wonderful organization together. So make sure you do download the podcast. As we're talking about ALS initiatives, please do consider making a tax-deductible donation to ALS Canada. You can find it on the bottom right-hand little column of jasonthecouch.com. You can also visit our Redbubble shop. 100% of the profits from any merchandise that's bought, whether it's a cup, a T-shirt, a pillow, whatever it might be, 100% of the profits go directly to ALS Canada in support of the Jason the Couch initiative to help fight ALS. Next week's On Fek Circle will be heavily focused on MLB's Lou Gehrig Day celebrations about ALS initiatives. It won't be all just science stuff. I'm going to try to tie in a lot of historical baseball events that tie into amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, which is what the disease was known as before Lou Gehrig was stricken with it. And it became in common lore, Lou Gehrig's disease. Now, some of that is just basic American arrogance, because you can't just, say, oh, let's go now support ALS and amyotrophic lateral sclerosis and muscular motor. You can't do that. No, Americans somehow have to make it about themselves, and they had to label this hideous disease after one of their American heroes. But again, it could be argued that when it's known as Lou Gehrig's disease, it catches people's attention and perhaps makes fundraising and makes awareness a little bit easier. As we're talking about ALS initiatives and all, let's talk about the Jason the Couch Fantasy Baseball League. Now, it's the first year we've had the league. I was kind of kicking around the idea. I brought it to our editor and founder, Shaun Doyle. He loved the idea. He's a big fantasy baseball guy, as am I. There were a lot of people around us that are fantasy baseball guys. Christian Rao, who you just saw Rao Report come up, welcome me back to the live show. He's in the league. Ryan Mueller, who covers all of our minor leagues for jasonthecouch.com. Sean's son is in the league. And a lot of you listeners out there that contribute on a regular basis, that we wanted to invite you in, and we wanted to make it, a community type of an event. Now, the winner of the league, the champion of the league, will earn a $300 merchandise package from Jason the Couch. Shaun Doyle has put that up and has donated that. But each of the division winners, we have two divisions, a Steve division and a Delgado division, named for probably the best pitcher and the best hitter in Blue Jays history. That's up for debate. That's a different show. They'll have $50 donated to ALS Canada in their names for winning the division and the overall league champion. In addition to winning the merch package, they will also have an additional $100 donated in their name to ALS Canada. It's a fun way to add to our initiative to work with ALS Canada and try to eliminate, the scourge of ALS off of the planet. Christian Rao, as mentioned before, my back hurts from carrying the league, still kicking myself from the loss from Shaun. Well, when you're 5-1, Christian, whining really, there has to be a cap on whining, just like there should be a salary cap in baseball. There has to be a whining cap. When you're really dominating and blowing away the league, um, I can shed a false tear for you, but I mean, you've done a fantastic job managing your roster. It just seems that you pick up guys just at the right time, and that's what it's all about. I mean, we want trash talk, okay, amongst ourselves, but in a very friendly way. We've had a couple of incidents where players got dropped by accident, when it wasn't the intention, out of sportsmanship. In almost every case, that player, nobody touched them, and was able to be picked up by the owner that made the error. So again, it's been a fun time. And Rao Report is carrying the league. He's the only team with only one loss. He's 5-1. He's way atop the Steve division. Ryan Mueller is the only other team that's even close. They're 3-3. His team, the Dumpster Fires, is 3-3. Over in the other division, the Delgado division, there are 4 teams tied at the top at 4-2. Though the Sky Dominators, great name. I love that name. They statistically are in first place. So the Rao Report and the first place team, the Dominators and the Delgado division, would each get first round buys. And all the teams at 4-2, Shaun's Doyle JFtC team. We have the Willie Mays Hayes, another classic team name. And the double players, they're all at 4-2. As of this point, they would all make the playoffs. So the first round buys for the division winners. The reason that I wanted to focus too on the fantasy, not only that, we invite you to the Jays from the Couch Fantasy Baseball League Facebook page. Check it out. I mean, we're not having like game recaps and breaking it down, but as interesting things pop up in the league, every Monday we put up the standings, what the teams did head to head. There'll be little photos of the standings there. And people will interact, with the league, and even outside of the league, they'll interact. It's a fun way to kind of keep up on what we're doing here with the fantasy league. But the reason that I bring it up and spend so much time on it right now is that I wanted to introduce the Fek Blue Jays fantasy ratings. We're at the quarter pole. The Blue Jays have played, more than 41 games. It's been a mixed bag, certainly, during that. But sometimes we get too caught up in the daily transactions and, exactly where they might be in the standings. There's other ways to really judge how a team as a whole might be performing, both pitching and hitting. In the case of the Blue Jays, okay, everyone knows why they're struggling. They're not hitting. They're the bottom of almost every offensive category. You're not going to be a division leader if you're struggling like that. And there was a piece on MLB.com today where they were talking about teams whose records are deceiving. And the Blue Jays were right there. I mean, the Blue Jays Pythagorean record, which is basically, there's a couple of outlying things that get factored in, like strength of schedule and things like that. But it's basically runs for, runs against. The Blue Jays are actually performing about 3 games ahead of their Pythagorean record. their anticipated or the dreaded expected record based on run differential. So I thought we would kind of break down the Blue Jays at the quarter pole here. And just like I did at the beginning of the season with the FECU projections, deciding who would make the playoffs in the American League, I've been way off base in many, many cases with the teams I thought would dominate, get those buys, the Blue Jays and the White Sox. Both teams have struggled mightily. I do boast whenever I can that I picked the LA Angels to win the AL West, and it's not as far-fetched now, seeing how the team has performed, as it might have been, before the season started. But the FECU fantasy baseball ratings for the Blue Jays, it's going to literally give a grade. In the case of the F, that stands for fantastic. That's a player that really is standing out and doing a terrific job. The E, that rating basically means it's everything that you should expect from that player. So the players maybe not having the career year, but they're basically doing as they were expected to do at the beginning of the season. Now, because there's little boys and girls out there, I'm going to use. I wanted to have a different rating than K for crappy, but I thought the word that really is apropos should not be used because this is a family show. And rather than have the little boys and girls think of it being crappy with a C, we're going to use crappy with a K. And there's quite a few crappy performances that have happened so far. And then the U stands for the unexplainable. I thought there might be some unexplainable positive things, but really it's mainly performances that we just don't understand. So let's jump right into the FECU Blue Jays fantasy baseball ratings. From a hitting standpoint, there were 2 Fs given out: George Springer and Santiago Espinal. Now, George Springer, the average, and we use Yahoo for our fantasy sports league, so I took the average rankings at the beginning of the season and where they are now. He was originally ranked as the 41st best player in Major League Baseball. His performance so far has him as the 30th best player. He has 8 homers, driven in 24. He's stolen 2 bases. He has a perfect fielding percentage, and many fantasy leagues do either give credit or subtract for errors or fielding percentage. And his slash line is pretty impressive. He has earned he is back from the injury-plagued season last year. He has made some unbelievable plays in the field. That doesn't show up in fantasy rankings. Okay, but he has saved the Jays bacon on more than one occasion with his glove. Santiago Espinal, and I brought this up a couple of times. If you listen to out-of-town broadcasters, Santiago Espinal gets talked about more than just about any Blue Jay, and that includes Vladdy and Springer and Bo Bichette. Sort of like last year, everybody was talking about Danny Jansen and the way that he blocked, errant pitches and how he was able to really take control of a game from behind the plate. Santiago Espinal is drawing comparisons to Robbie Alomar, and that's pretty high praise. That's very, very high praise. He's considered the 141st best player statistically on average in Yahoo fantasy leagues. He started the year at 674 as a ranking. He has two home runs. He's driven in 16. He's stolen 3 bases, 292, 349, 431 slash line. That's fantastic. No one expected that. Not even the biggest Espinal fans And I saw him interviewed today on one of the MLB Network shows, and you can tell he's confident. He really believes that this is the Santiago Espinal that teams and fans should expect going forward. As far as the everything you should expect performances, that would be Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Danny Jansen. Now, okay, you can say, "Oh, well, Vladdy's having a bad year. Isn't he unexplainable?" He's not, he's getting a little impatient at the plate, but he still has 7 homers. He's driven in 21 runs. He has a perfect fielding percentage at first base. I don't think anyone expected that to ever be an instance. It's not going to go the entire year that way. But, is his slugging percentage great at 426? No. Could his on base percentage be better at 359? Yeah. Okay. But, not every year is going to be the 2021 year Vladimir Guerrero put up. So, from a fantasy perspective, from a Blue Jays performance, he's everything that you'd expect him to be. And Danny Jansen, despite missing a big chunk of time, has been a very pleasant surprise. Okay. He has changed his approach to the plate. He's trying to drive the ball. He's not going crazy about it. He's not like mega launch angle approach. Yeah, he's trying to pull the ball and drive the ball. He's hit 292, 708 slugging percentage. I mean, that's amazing. Had he stayed healthy and played more games, he would have been in the fantastic range. But still not too bad. Now the crappy, there's a bunch. Okay, there's a bunch of crappy performances. Matt Chapman leads the Jays in crappy performance from a fantasy standpoint. Great defender, though he has made some errors in the field. I mean, nobody's perfect. Alejandro Kirk, he's slugging 324. How can that be? And I'm not buying, oh, well, he wasn't expected to catch that many games and that kind of wore down on him. No, it's the first 40 games of the season. He's had a crappy year. Statistically, looking through a fantasy lens, he's had a crappy year. Lourdes Gurriel. Now, I list these first three. It's not in the Jays from the Couch Fantasy League. Notice I kind of glossed over the fact that I'm 2-4. I started 2-0, and I have lost 4 consecutive weeks, and it wasn't even respectably losses. I mean, I got thumped. But in another league that I'm on in Yahoo, I have Chapman, Kirk, and Gurriel. They are single-handedly torpedo a team that everybody thought after the draft I had just dominated with my draft. Those 3 guys alone are torpedoing that team. Lourdes is just not having a great year. I was surprised that his overall average rating so far is 376 because it just doesn't seem like he's been producing. He has a couple stolen bases. He's been okay defensively. Teoscar Hernandez has been brutal. And again, he's been hurt. We can come up with all these excuses. But ultimately, you're playing games that count now. And we have since lockout ended. He's hitting 149 with a 213 on-base percentage and 257 slugging. That's brutal. Brutal. And that 257 slugging is with 2 home runs. So he gets a crappy grade. I'm going to mention Raimel Tapia and Bradley Zimmer as having crappy performances because they really are. But they are what they are. I was surprised that Tapia had a higher average rating at 290 to begin the year. But then, of course, that he was with the Rockies. This is before the trade of Grichuk for Tapia. But he's been kind of horrible. The unexplainable, it's Bo Bichette. Love the hat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I always have to sport and boost. I loved living in Buffalo. And I was up there when the Bisons came back. Well, no, actually, they had already come back. But I was going to see games before they had the new stadium, which had like 5,000 names. It's now Salem Field, but it was Rich Stadium for a while, named after the owners, the people that brought the team back. Um, I try to represent what was probably my favorite place to live, and that was Western New York and Buffalo in my life. I've been in Pittsburgh now for a long, long time. I grew up in the New York metropolitan area, grew up in New Jersey, but Buffalo is special. So thanks for noticing the hat, and hopefully the folks in the bar in North Tonawanda are also cheering the fact that their Bisons got mentioned here on the On Fek Circle and from Jays from the Couch. Bo Bichette is unexplainable. He's still Bo Bichette at the plate. He's still uber aggressive, but he has 6 homers, 21 RBIs. He's had his moments. I really don't know why he is falling short. And I'm going to mention Kevin Biggio here. I know he's not with the club now, and he is starting to hit in Buffalo. I don't know that I've ever witnessed a quicker fall from grace on the Blue Jays than we all have here with Kevin Biggio. He's far too talented to be hitting 043. That's also his slugging percentage, 043. In the core fantasy stats, you would think homers, RBIs, steals, zeros across the board. Hopefully he figures it out down in Buffalo. We're going to zip through the pitching here real quick. That has been the biggest surprise, I think, for a lot of people, has been how well the Blue Jays have pitched. I think it may be more that they're pitching well and the offense is so bad that the pitching seems even better than it actually is. But I mean, thank God for like the guys that are getting my 3 Fs here. Alek Manoah, Kevin Gausman, Adam Simber. From a fantasy perspective, you can't ask more than what Alek Manoah has given. He has 7 quality starts, an ERA well under 2. He's 5-1. His WHIP is 0.88. He's matured. He has 43 strikeouts in 50 innings, but he doesn't feel he has to strike everybody out. We are seeing something special develop right before our eyes. So in this case, Alec, an F is good. And I give you an F plus plus plus. You have been amazing. Gausman, great signing. He's 3-3, but he's been terrific. He deserves better than a 3-3 record. And I give Adam Simber a fantastic rating, an F grade as well, because as a reliever, he has 4 wins. You don't want your relievers necessarily getting lots of wins. 1.93 ERA, WHIP 0.80. He has a combined net 9 of saves and holds. And when you're looking at a bullpen, you can't just say saves are important, holds are important, wins are important. All of them combined are very, very important. Adam Simber, he has 20 appearances, which leads the club, has been fantastic. If you have a fantasy league and he is available, you need to add him because he is going to pick up in the aggregate lots of fantasy points for you. Everything you should expect. I think you say Kikuchi is everything you should suspect. You look what his rating was before and what it's for the season, what it is now. It's within a couple of things, 346 to 363. Giving up 4 homers, that's not good. Doesn't have a quality start yet. That's not necessarily good either. But 347 ERA, whip under 1.3. That's about what you think from Kikuchi. Jordan Romano. You're going to say, wait a minute, you didn't give him an F? No, he's everything that you would expect from Jordan Romano. He has not done anything to set himself above any other reliever in the American League. He comes in, 104 was his preseason ranking, 106 is his average ranking now in Yahoo leagues. He's been great. Okay, he's had some struggles here and there, sure. He's given up some homers, but relievers in the aggregate, Romano's going to be fine at the end of the year. But I'm going to give him just an E. Tim Mesa, before he got hurt, he was terrific. 2-0, 15 appearances, a true left-handed presence in the bullpen. And when we get to the K for crappy here, the other left-handed present reliever, Ryan Baraki, he gets a K. He gets a K minus, 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 minus. He cannot be the primary left-handed option on a division or even a playoff team. Now, it looks like Mesa's coming back pretty quickly, but, Baraki's been pretty bad. The other guy that's been pretty crappy, Hyun-Jin Ryu. And I'm going to say something that's going to come across as pretty harsh. He quit on the Jays. And nothing that he can do the rest of the year is going to change it. That early going when he was struggling and suddenly his arm started to bother him, he quit on the Jays. And that's unforgivable. Unexplainable, Jose Barrios is certainly there. And I know, a couple really bad outings have skewed his overall stats. That's true. But he was considered the 80th best pitcher on average in Yahoo leagues. Right now, he's ranked 1,076th. That's unexplainable. He'll right the ship. We're talking about what's happened here in the first quarter poll here. And we're looking at these things from a Blue Jays fantasy perspective, how they're performing as fantasy players in your leagues or in friends' leagues does reflect on how the team is doing overall. And I could go on and on and on and on with this, but we've used up most of the time. I do want to thank you for tuning in. Thank you again for all of the messages. I should probably talk about Josh Donaldson real quickly. From a Blue Jays perspective, you've had some very tough calls to make over the most recent times. Roberto Alomar, Roberto Osuna, now Donaldson, Kevin Pillar. Nothing detracts from what they contributed on the field. But it doesn't mean that you have to condone their behaviors now. But perhaps you need to just let it go. I was going to do a Blue Jays bedtime story, and we ran long, and I don't really have time to do it, about banishments in Blue Jays history. We've banished a lot of players. Marcus Stroman's another guy that we've banished. George Bell got banished for all intents and purposes as the Blue Jays got better. They just weren't putting up with some of his more emotional, irrational kind of behaviors as time went on. You should never dismiss what these players have done for the Blue Jays, the successes that they helped lead to. But don't put gasoline on the fire and go on social media and vow, I'll never root for this guy again, or I'm not this, I'm not that. Let it go. Okay. If you have Donaldson merchandise or Pillar merchandise or any of the players that have caused problems, Don't make a big deal, say, oh, I'm going to give away all my stuff. Just give it away. Or even better, throw it away. If you give it away, potentially somebody else could be wearing that jersey around. Just throw it away. Let it go. Everybody knows Josh Donaldson is a dope. Okay. And he grates on teammates. Everybody knows that. But you're not changing that situation by going on social media and ranting and trying to come up holier than thou about it. Okay. Let it go. In the Jason McCouch Fantasy League, somebody that owned Josh Donaldson waived him. He was so outraged by it. That's fine. You waived him. Didn't make a big deal about it. He just waived him. I picked him up because I have no conscience when it comes to fantasy baseball. But I also, you can't erase from the record books what people like Roberto Alomar and Kevin Pillar and Josh Donaldson and Marcus Stroman have done for the Blue Jays, or George Bell. And there's lots of other players that have been banished. Let it go. Do not bring any more attention to these people that they have not earned your respect or your attention or your time anymore. Let it go. Just let it go. I run a little bit long. My voice hung in there. This evil spy juice, it works. I'm glad I was able to talk with you this week. I'll be back with you next Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Don't forget the podcast every Monday. It records and streams live, 6 p.m. Eastern time, hosted by Shaun Doyle. Coming up on Thursday, it's Sunny Side of the Dome with Karen Suter. She's going to have some interesting ideas about how the Jays are doing in reality. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be back next week. It's going to be okay, Blue Jay fans. It's a long season. We're only a quarter of the way through. It'll be okay.